Wrong table. Scarlett's heart raced as she approached the elegant setup, her emerald dress catching the restaurant's golden lights. The reservation book trembled in her hands. She had one job tonight: manage the VIP section at Meridian Gardens, Chicago's most exclusive dining establishment. 3 weeks into her internship, the Maître d' had called in sick, leaving her to handle the most important reservation of the month. Table 7. She whispered, double-checking. Mr. Richardson, party of 2. Everything had to be perfect. Her supervisor Janet's warning echoed. One mistake, Scarlett, and you're done. The restaurant buzzed around her. Waiters gliding between tables, soft jazz floating through the air. She checked her watch nervously. 7:30. A tall man in a navy suit approached. Dark hair swept back. Confident stride, expensive watch. He looked like he belonged at table 7. "Excuse me," he said warmly. "I believe this is my table." Scarlett's smile faltered. Something felt off. "Are you Mr. Richardson?" "Actually, no. I'm here for the Morrison reservation. Table 12. Heat flooded her cheeks. She'd completely missed another VIP booking. "Oh God. I'm so sorry." Her hands shook as she found it. Morrison, party of 2, table 12. Same time slot. How had she missed this? "The table's not ready," she whispered, panic rising. "I completely forgot about your reservation." The man studied her for a moment. His expression was surprisingly kind. "How long have you been working here?" 3 weeks. "I'm just an intern, covering for the Maître d', but I'm clearly not qualified." Instead of demanding her manager, he surprised her. "What's your name?" "Scarlett. Scarlett Wade." "Well, Scarlett Wade, everyone makes mistakes. What matters is how we fix them." A stunning woman in an elegant green dress approached. Blonde hair in perfect waves, designer jewelry worth more than Scarlett's yearly salary. "There you are, darling," she said, linking arms with him. "I was wondering where you'd disappeared to." "Just sorting out the table situation with." "With the help," the woman interrupted, barely glancing at Scarlett. "Surely they can handle a simple reservation." Scarlett felt the dismissal like a slap. She straightened her shoulders. "I'll have your table ready in 5 minutes, Mr. Morrison." As she hurried away, she caught fragments of their conversation. "Really, James, you're too patient with these people. Everyone deserves kindness, especially when they're trying their best." Something about their dynamic bothered her. The way the woman spoke to him, like scolding a child, and the way he'd looked at Scarlett, with understanding, not anger. 20 minutes later, both couples were seated. Mr. Richardson had arrived, a portly gentleman with his wife, both thankfully understanding about the delay. Scarlett moved between tables, ensuring everything ran smoothly. She couldn't help but notice the tension at table 12. The woman, Victoria, dominated conversation, while James Morrison sat quietly, occasionally glancing around, with what looked like sadness. During her break, veteran waiter Lewis noticed her frazzled expression. "Rough night?" he asked, settling beside her in the break room. "You could say that." Scarlett slumped into a chair. "I screwed up the Morrison reservation. Nearly lost us 2 VIP tables." Lewis raised an eyebrow. "Morrison? As in James Morrison?" "Yeah, why? Is he someone important?" Lewis stared at her in disbelief. "Scarlett, James Morrison owns this restaurant. The entire Meridian Hospitality Group. He's the CEO." The blood drained from her face. She'd complained about her job, her qualifications, to her ultimate boss. 32 years old, self-made millionaire. Started with one food truck in Detroit, built an empire. He comes in here sometimes, likes to see how his restaurants run from the customer perspective. Scarlett's stomach dropped. She was remembering Victoria's dismissive comments, James's defense of kindness, his sad expression during dinner. A terrible realization began forming in her mind. She slipped back to the dining room. Table 12 was finishing dessert. Victoria was on her phone, barely acknowledging James's attempts at conversation. He looked more isolated than any man surrounded by luxury should. That's when Scarlett noticed his phone. A photo of him with an older couple, in front of a small diner, all three wearing matching aprons and huge smiles. Everything clicked. His understanding when she'd messed up. His comment about kindness. The way he'd looked around the restaurant, like remembering something precious. She made a decision that could cost her everything. She approached as Victoria excused herself for the ladies' room. "Mr. Morrison," she said quietly, sliding into the empty chair. "I owe you an apology. I thought we'd settled that. Not for the mix-up. For not recognizing you." She paused. "That diner in the photo, that's where you started, isn't it?" Something shifted in his eyes. Surprise, then vulnerability. "How did you?" "My parents owned a diner too. In Milwaukee. I grew up wiping tables, learning every customer matters, no matter how much money they spend." She took a breath. "Your parents taught you the same thing?" James was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried unexpected emotion. "They did. They died in a car accident 3 years ago. Left me their little place, and a mountain of debt. So you built all this, for them?" "In their memory, yes. But somewhere along the way." He gestured at the elegant restaurant. "I lost sight of what they actually valued." Victoria's laughter drifted from across the room, where she'd stopped to network. James's jaw tightened slightly. "She doesn't know about the diner," he said quietly. "About where I really came from. She thinks I inherited everything from some wealthy family." Scarlett felt a surge of understanding. "And you're afraid if she knew the truth, she'd leave?" "Yes." James met her eyes. "Pretty pathetic for a successful businessman, isn't it?" "No. It's human. But James, someone who truly loves you wouldn't care where you came from. They'd be proud of how far you've traveled." Victoria returned, sliding back into her seat, with obvious irritation at finding Scarlett there. "Is there a problem with our service?" Victoria asked coldly. James looked between them, something shifting in his expression. "Actually, Victoria, I'd like you to meet Scarlett Wade. She's new here, and she's been taking excellent care of us tonight." Victoria's smile was pure ice. "How nice." "I was just telling Victoria about my parents' diner," James continued, his voice growing stronger with each word. "Where I learned everything about real hospitality." Victoria's fork paused, midway to her mouth. "Diner." "Wade's family restaurant in Detroit. Mom made the best apple pie in Michigan, and Dad knew every customer's name and story." James's voice filled with warmth and pride. "They taught me that treating people well isn't about profit, it's about basic human dignity." The color drained from Victoria's face. "James, what are you talking about? You told me your family was in real estate." "I never said that," James replied quietly. "You assumed it, and I was too much of a coward to correct you." Scarlett started to leave, sensing the conversation had moved beyond her. But James caught her hand gently. "Wait." He looked directly at Victoria. "Scarlett made a mistake tonight. A simple scheduling error that could happen to anyone. Instead of getting angry or demanding her supervisor, she owned it, fixed it, and showed more grace under pressure than most people in twice her position." Victoria's eyes narrowed dangerously. "What exactly is your point?" "My point is that character isn't about where you come from, or what designer dress you're wearing. It's about how you treat people, when no one important is watching. How you handle your mistakes. How you show kindness to someone who can't do anything for you in return." The silence stretched between them, like a taut wire. Victoria's carefully constructed mask finally slipped, revealing something cold and calculating underneath. "Are you seriously lecturing me about character, Because of some waitress. She's not some waitress, James said firmly, his voice carrying quiet authority. She's someone trying to build a better life, through honest hard work. Just like my parents did. Just like I did. Victoria stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. This is absolutely ridiculous. Call me when you remember who you're supposed to be. She stormed out, leaving a wake of uncomfortable silence. James stared after her for a moment, then began to laugh. Not bitter laughter, but something lighter, genuinely relieved. Well, he said, turning back to Scarlett, that went better than I expected. Better? Scarlett asked, completely amazed. 3 years I've been trying to figure out how to end that relationship, without looking like the villain. James smiled genuinely for the first time all evening. Turns out all I had to do was be honest about who I really am. 3 months later, Scarlett was promoted to assistant manager. Not because she was dating the boss. That would come later, after months of coffee conversations, about family, dreams, and the small moments that make life meaningful. Because she'd proven herself capable of growth, leadership, and the kind of authentic kindness that can't be taught in any business school. On the anniversary of her first night at Meridian Gardens, James took her back to Detroit, to Wade's family restaurant, which had reopened under new management, but kept its original name and spirit intact. They sat in the same corner booth, where his parents had their first date, where he'd done homework as a child. As they shared a slice of apple pie, not quite as good as his mother's recipe, but close enough to bring tears to his eyes, James reached across the worn table and took her hand. Thank you, he said simply, his voice thick with emotion. For what? For seeing me. Not the CEO, not the money, not the empire. Just me. Scarlett squeezed his hand, remembering that terrifying night, when she'd sat at the wrong table and found exactly the right person. Thank you for seeing me too, she whispered back. Outside, the first snow of winter began to fall, on the little diner where two people from humble beginnings had learned the most important lesson of all. The best fairy tales aren't about glass slippers or magical transformations. They're about finding someone who loves the person you've always been and helps you become the person you're meant to be. Sometimes, the most beautiful love stories begin with the simplest mistakes and end with the extraordinary courage to be completely, authentically themselves.